What if your entire life could change just by mastering your emotions? Most people are controlled by anger, fear, and doubt without even knowing it. But those who learn to respond, not react, quietly rise above the chaos. Why stay a slave to feelings when you could rule with calm clarity? In just a few moments, I will teach you how to control your emotions and with it, take full control of your life. You are not your emotions, you are the commander of them. Have you ever felt a storm rage inside you, only to act in a way you later regret? Anger, fear, jealousy? These are not foreign invaders. They are your servants, not your masters. But when you forget this, you place your destiny into the hands of impulse. And once that happens, you stop choosing your path. You let it be chosen for you by forces that don't care where you end up. These emotional impulses were given to you for a reason. They are tools, not tyrants. Fire can warm your home or burn it down, and so too can anger ignite courage or destroy your peace. Most men allow emotion to ride them like a runaway horse. Few learn to take the reins. You begin by stilling your mind in moments of stress. Breathe, count, step back before you speak, reflect before you decide, and ask, what is the outcome I truly desire here? Imagine a general in war charging blindly into battle every time he's provoked. He'd lose not only battles, but the entire war. Are you doing the same in your daily life? Do you react or do you respond? One creates chaos, the other builds empires. So I ask you now, will you ride your emotions or let them ride you? You cannot build a life while drowning in mood swings. One day you wake up inspired. The next, you're in despair. Today you act with discipline. Tomorrow you don't even get out of bed. This seesaw of emotion is what keeps most men average. You know what to do, but only feel like doing it half the time. And that half is never enough. The truth is this: success doesn't belong to the most talented. It belongs to the most stable. If your moods decide your actions, then your future belongs to chance. Why let your feelings dictate whether or not you do your work, speak your truth, or follow through? That is not freedom. That is slavery, emotional slavery. Stability is not a gift. It is a habit. You must train it like a muscle. Build daily rituals. Create unbreakable routines. Tie your work to principle, not to mood. Picture a farmer who plants only on sunny days. He'd never harvest. Nature rewards those who work regardless of the weather. Life is no different. Do you want to feel better or do you want to be better? Choose stability. Choose the higher ground. Because while emotions change, excellence does not. Calm is a competitive advantage. In a world full of short tempers and loud opinions, calmness is your secret weapon. Most men today are quick to boil, snapping over traffic, criticism, or delay. But the man who stays calm when the pressure mounts becomes magnetic. He thinks clearly. He moves with purpose. He chooses his words like a surgeon selects his tools, with precision. And because of that, he doesn't just survive chaos, he masters it. The loudest man in the room isn't the strongest, he's usually the weakest. A slave to his emotions. He reacts because he lacks control. But the quiet man, the still one who observes, who waits, who speaks only when needed, he commands respect, not by volume, but by presence. You don't lead with noise, you lead with nerve. And nerve is built in silence, not in shouting. Staying calm is not about suppressing your emotions, it's about transforming them. When you suppress, you bury energy that only comes back later. But when you understand your triggers and rise above them, you evolve. Observe yourself like a scientist. What irritates you? Why does it bother you so deeply? Question everything. Does reacting here help me win, or does it just drain me? Most of the time you'll find it's your ego, not your values, screaming for attention. Picture a courtroom. Two men are accused falsely. One explodes, argues with the judge, and earns a contempt charge. The other man stays composed. He speaks slowly, clearly. Everyone listens. Why? Because calmness is a signal of strength. Emotional restraint is a display of power. It says, I don't need to flinch to prove myself. And that makes people listen and follow. Power respects control. Control starts with calm. Life gives you these quiet tests daily. The rude waiter, the slow internet, the friend who talks over you. You could blow up, or you could smile and endure, not because you're weak, but because you're focused on a bigger prize. Every moment you stay calm under pressure, you train your mind to win. You train yourself to be unshakable. And unshakable men shape the world. while others are tossed by it. This power is not reserved for the elite or the chosen few. It's available to any man if he chooses to master himself. Calmness is not something you wait for. It's something you decide to practice. You don't get calm by chance. You get calm by commitment, by choosing every day to respond instead of react, to think instead of panic, to endure instead of erupt. That is real power. That is the edge. And it's waiting for you right now. You don't need to feel ready to begin. You need to begin to feel ready. Too many men wait. They wait for the right mood, the perfect motivation, the spark of inspiration that never comes. They sit idle, hoping to feel like it. But emotion is as unreliable as weather in a stormy land. It changes without warning. It doesn't ask for your permission. And if you depend on it to move forward, you may sit still forever, because feelings lie. They tell you you're not ready, not capable, not strong enough, until it's too late to act. Readiness, as most understand it, is a myth, a trick of the mind that whispers, wait a little longer. But those who achieve anything of value know the truth. Readiness is created through action. You don't wait until you feel brave. You act and bravery grows. You don't wait to be confident. You move and confidence follows behavior, not the other way around. Greatness is not born in comfort. It's forged in discomfort, in motion, in decision. Imagine a man in the wilderness, freezing. He doesn't wait for warmth to appear. He strikes stone on steel again and again until a spark becomes flame, until flame becomes fire. That is how strength is built. Not by wishing, but by working. Not by waiting, but by moving. The first spark is your decision. So how do you begin? You do the thing you least want to do. You rise from the chair when your body begs to rest. You speak the difficult truth when silence would be easier. You write the words, make the call, show up to the fight, not because you feel strong, but because it is the right thing to do. And when you take that step, something shifts inside. Momentum takes over. Energy grows, doubt fades. Picture the craftsman. Every morning, tired or not, he sharpens his blade. He doesn't wait to feel like it. He sharpens because one day that blade might save his life. One day that preparation might be the only thing between survival and ruin. That's how you must treat your mind, your habits, your discipline. They are tools, and tools rust when left untouched. You either sharpen them daily or you let them dull through delay. The key is simple. If you want to feel better, act better. If you want to feel prepared, start preparing. You will not feel like it. You will not always be inspired. That doesn't matter. What matters is whether you move anyway, because when you act, you ignite something inside, a small flame that says, I don't need to wait. I make my own weather. So the question remains, will you move today or make another excuse? You already know what to do. You don't need another sign. You need to move. Let courage follow your step. Let confidence follow your work, because action is the spark. Everything else comes after. Resentment is a chain. Forgiveness is the key. When you hold on to past wrongs, you do not wound your enemies, you wound yourself. You carry poison in your bloodstream, hoping it will destroy someone else. But it only corrupts your peace, your energy, your strength. The man who replays betrayal in his mind becomes trapped in a story that no longer serves him. He wastes today trying to rewrite yesterday, and as long as he does that, he will never move forward. He remains stuck, not by the past, but by his refusal to release it. You are not built to carry every insult and injury. Life was not designed for you to drag bitterness like a sack across every mile. That weight breaks your back, not theirs. That hatred clouds your mind, not theirs. Forgiveness is not some favor you give to those who wronged you. It is a form of self-preservation, of mental clarity and spiritual strength. So why do so many hold on to grudges? Because pride whispers that to forgive is to lose. Pride says letting go means you are weak. But this is a lie dressed as honor. Forgiveness isn't surrender, it's strategy. It's not about forgetting, it's about refusing to be controlled. When you forgive, you regain control of your mind, your focus, your energy. You stop allowing another's offense to define your state of being. That is not weakness, that is power. You forgive, not to excuse them, but to set yourself free. You reclaim your time, your thoughts, and your future. Bitterness steals. It robs your sleep, your motivation, your joy. It leaves you reactive, sensitive, and stuck. But forgiveness clears the slate. It brings your attention back to you, to your discipline, your destiny, your higher self. And that return is the beginning of true strength. Visualize a man rowing a boat with an anchor dragging behind him. He rows harder, faster, trying to gain ground. But no matter how strong he is, he gets nowhere. That anchor is resentment. Every grudge, every insult, every wound you refuse to release, it drags behind you, and no amount of effort can outrun it. Your forward momentum is chained to what you won't let go. Forgiveness is how you cut that chain. The future cannot flourish while your hands are full of old pain, and the mind cannot build when it is busy reliving battles long finished. Forgiveness is not forgetting. It's choosing to remember without reliving. It is seeing the scar and saying, yes, it happened, but it no longer holds me. You reclaim your attention, and with it, your ability to act decisively in the present, rather than react based on the past. Ask yourself, are you willing to truly be free? Then stop rehearsing the hurt. Stop polishing your pain like a trophy. Every time you revisit the insult, you breathe life back into what should have died. Your past deserves reflection, not residence. You're not meant to live there. Your strength, your future, your peace, they all exist ahead, not behind. So now the decision stands before you. Will you stay chained to old injuries, walking circles around the same bitterness? Or will you pick up the key, unlock the door, and walk free? Forgiveness is that key, not for them, for you. Set yourself free. The road ahead is waiting. Reaction is easy. Response is power. You are provoked. Your pride rises like fire. Your breath shortens. Your heart pounds. Your hands clench. Your voice, louder than you intended, says something you wish you could take back. But the damage is done. Why? Because for a few seconds you chose the illusion of victory, the petty satisfaction of being right, over the lasting value of peace. You won the moment and lost yourself. This is the trap of reaction. It's impulsive, instant, and deeply costly. Reaction is your default setting and your greatest enemy. Anyone can react. It takes no training, no discipline, no strength. It's animalistic, it's emotional. But to respond, that requires power. That requires a mind that refuses to be dragged like a puppet by every offense or slight. Response is discipline in motion. It's control wearing the mask of calm. When you respond instead of react, you create space. That space is everything. It is the sacred gap between the trigger and your choice. In that gap, your future is shaped. Most men live without it. They move from event to explosion with no awareness in between. But the one who can pause, breathe, and choose, that man becomes unstoppable. That man builds rather than destroys. It begins with a simple, powerful act, the pause. Not a retreat, not passivity. A calm inner stillness, a breath that interrupts the storm. A question, what do I really want here? Do I want to escalate this conflict or diffuse it? Do I want short-term pride or long-term peace? That single moment of inquiry can alter everything. It can prevent regret, invite wisdom, and deliver results. Picture the blacksmith. He doesn't slam his hammer blindly. He heats the iron. He waits, he watches, he studies its glow. Then, and only then, does he strike. And the strike is perfect. That is the difference between chaos and creation, between wasted energy and focused force. You are no different. If you hit too early or from emotion alone, you miss the mark. But when you respond with purpose, your impact is precise. So ask yourself now, are you creating or destroying? When someone disrespects you, do you rise to their level or rise above it? When tension rises, do you add fuel to the fire or do you become the water? Greatness does not come from explosive power, but from measured strength. A mind that can withstand insult without collapse is a mind ready to shape empires. Mastery over life begins with mastery over self. You cannot lead others, build a legacy, or walk with purpose if you are constantly hijacked by emotions. You must own your reaction, not let your reaction own you. You must be able to stand in the face of chaos and choose clarity. That is emotional intelligence. That is spiritual strength. That is the foundation of power. So I ask you again, will you explode or will you elevate? One burns bridges, the other builds them. One keeps you trapped in small battles, the other positions you for long-term victory. The choice is yours. Reaction is easy, response is earned. Choose the higher ground and become the man who commands not just the moment, but himself. Control your tone, control the outcome. A man may have truth, logic, and evidence on his side and still lose the room. Not because his message was wrong, but because his delivery was. The way you speak carries as much weight as what you say. Emotion in your voice can blur the wisdom in your words. Raised voices provoke resistance. Sharp tones cut deeper than intended. And once trust is cut, even the truth bleeds out. If you cannot stay calm under verbal pressure, then pressure speaks for you. It hijacks your tone, tightens your throat, and replaces your message with your emotions, the room doesn't remember your insight, only your intensity. This is where most men fall. They mistake loudness for strength and anger for authority. But the real leader, the one who moves minds, does so with measured calm. When your voice remains steady, even when your heart races or your pride is under fire, you command the atmosphere. You signal control. Others lean in, not because you're louder, but because you're anchored. A calm voice becomes a bridge, not a blade. It invites dialogue. It shifts tension. It makes people want to listen and feel safe enough to agree. This is not weakness. It is tactical strength. Make it a habit. When your temper rises, lower your voice. The quieter you speak, the more others must tune in. When you feel misunderstood, clarify. Don't shout. Shouting makes your point smaller, not louder. When you're accused, ask questions. Curiosity disarms aggression. It signals confidence, not panic. Your calm tone becomes proof that you are not shaken, not reactive, not owned by the moment. Picture two men arguing over a debt. One is shouting, hands waving, face flushed. The other listens quietly. He nods. He speaks slowly, with no edge in his voice. He explains. Maybe he disagrees, maybe he makes his point, but who commands more respect? Who seems like the one in control? It's not the louder man, it's the clearer one. And clarity walks hand in hand with calm. Your tone is not decoration, it's strategy. It reveals how deeply rooted you are. A shallow man reacts. A grounded man responds. Every word you say is carried on the river of your tone. And if that river is turbulent, your meaning drowns. If it's smooth, your message travels farther. Leaders don't just speak facts. They shape tone like a weapon and a shield. If you're struggling to be heard, to be respected, to be taken seriously, perhaps it's not your message that's the problem. It might be your tone. Are you reacting from the pit or speaking from the mountain? One echoes with desperation. The other resonates with vision. One stirs defensiveness. The other inspires trust. The world does not need more men who shout to be understood. It needs men who speak with depth, who understand that a calm voice in conflict is more powerful than any argument won in rage. Your tone is your legacy in every conversation. It determines how people remember you, not just what they heard, but how you made them feel. So raise your thinking and lower your tone. That's how real leaders move hearts, win trust, and shift outcomes. Speak not to prove your strength, but to reveal it. Calm is louder than anger. Silence often speaks louder than noise. And the man who speaks with control speaks with undeniable authority. The strongest man is the one who can wait. You want it now, the solution, the win, the recognition, the revenge. But real power isn't proven in how fast you move. It's proven in how long you can wait without losing your edge. The world rushes to act. The wise man waits, watches, and then strikes with precision. In haste, people trip over their own ambition. In patience, you gather insight, power, and advantage. The man who can wait without dulling his hunger becomes a silent storm. Impatience is the child of fear. It whispers, act now or lose everything. But patience is the companion of confidence. It says, I don't need to rush. My moment will come. Every time you act in desperation, you leak power. But every time you pause, observe, and plan, you build it. Real confidence isn't loud or frantic. It's still, measured, and rooted in knowing, not in needing. The modern world rewards speed, fast money, fast fame, fast decisions. But what it rarely shows is the cost of that speed: regret, failure, and missed lessons. The wise man knows better. He sharpens his sword before battle. He reads the room before speaking. He studies the terrain before stepping forward. Every second he waits, he becomes more prepared, not less powerful. He plays the long game, not the loud one. Waiting is not weakness, it's a weapon. You are not retreating, you are loading. You are not hesitating, you are calculating. Your silence is not submission. It is a signal that you are thinking, watching, and choosing. The one who waits does not waste energy, he conserves it. And when the moment arrives, he uses it like a blade, clean and direct. Can you remain still while others move in panic? Can you listen without needing to speak? Can you walk away from a fight your pride begs you to win? These are the tests. These are the quiet battles that determine if you are ruled by ego or if you are guided by purpose. The one who passes these tests becomes dangerous because he moves only when it matters. Picture a hunter in the woods. He hears a rustle, he draws his bow, but does not fire. He waits, watches. He lets the moment ripen. Then, with full control, he releases. The shot is clean. The victory is earned. That's not luck. That's patience refined into lethal accuracy. He's not reacting, he's responding. That's the difference between amateurs and masters. What about you? Are you ruled by impulse or anchored in insight? Do you act to prove something or to accomplish something? Can you stay steady in uncertainty without scrambling for quick answers? The man who cannot wait shows his weakness, but the one who can wait without flinching, he commands respect. His silence speaks louder than others' shouts. His timing creates shockwaves. The most dangerous man is the one who waits without growing weak. While others burn out in pursuit, he builds quietly in the shadows. He's not chasing moments, he's creating them. Every delay is a brick in his fortress. Every pause is a sharpening stone. And when he finally steps forward, it's not just a move, it's a masterstroke. So ask yourself, can you wait or must you rush? Can you breathe when the clock ticks louder? Can you let others pass you knowing you're still ahead? Patience is not just endurance, it's strategy. It's not sitting still, it's standing ready. And the man who waits well rises far beyond those who leap too soon. Your rise or your fall will depend not on your speed, but on your timing. Impulse reacts, patience chooses. Wait well, and the world will open in your favor. Rush blindly and watch it slip through your hands. The choice, as always, is yours. The mind cannot serve two masters. Choose peace or chaos. Every day, without fail, life presents you with a choice. Will you feed your peace or will you feed your chaos? Most men don't answer directly. Instead, they juggle. They light incense for peace in the morning, then open the door to noise by noon. They pray for calm, but conflict. They crave stillness, but stay addicted to the storm. And they wonder why the soul is tired and the mind is loud. Your mind is not neutral. It is a furnace, and it burns whatever you feed it. Feed it gossip, jealousy, agitation, fear, or distraction, and it will consume those things until your thoughts are ash. Your anxiety isn't always from the world. It's often from the fuel you chose to throw in. Your chaos is not bad luck. It's the consequence of careless input. Understand this. You will never control the world. You can't stop the news cycle. You can't silence every critic. You can't block every fool. But you can control the gate to your temple. You can decide who enters your mind. You can choose what conversations to entertain. You can choose which voices to heed and which to ignore. This power is yours, but only if you claim it. Peace is not passive. It is not a default setting. It is built, earned, and guarded like a fortress. It does not land in your lap. It is carved, one decision at a time. Every time you say no to nonsense, every time you walk away from drama, every time you turn down the volume of distraction, you're laying another brick in the wall around your peace. Begin with silence, not just the absence of noise, but the presence of stillness. Turn off the outside and listen within. Let the morning greet you without clutter. Choose your tone before the world tries to assign one to you. Likewise, end your day with intention. Reflect, release, reset. Peace is a habit, not an accident. Build it with rhythm, with boundaries, with discipline. Picture the captain of a ship in a storm. He doesn't waste energy yelling at the sea. He doesn't curse the wind. He tightens the sails. He grips the helm. He adjusts course. That's what self-mastery looks like. The waves keep coming, but he stays anchored. That captain is you, if you choose to be. The storm is life. Your control lies not in calming the weather, but in commanding your vessel. Ask yourself honestly, what are you allowing into your ship? What conversations are you letting echo in your mind long after they've ended? What thoughts are you replaying like a broken record? If your mind is in chaos, don't just ask why, ask what. What are you feeding it? The fire does not start itself. Something or someone lit the match. Identify it, and then stop handing them the torch. Peace is not soft, it is strong. It's not the absence of problems. It's the refusal to let problems control you. It's not pretending things are fine. It's choosing not to fuel what isn't. Peace is your decision to be centered while the world spins. Your decision to pause instead of panic. Your decision to lead your mind instead of follow your impulses. You have far more control than you think. But control begins with responsibility. The world will try to provoke you, distract you, pull you in every direction. You must be the one to decide what gets your attention and what does not. Because what you dwell on, you become. What you listen to, you absorb. What you tolerate, you teach your mind to crave. So today, as you walk into noise, into demands, into the distractions of modern life, pause, tighten your sails, grip your helm. Ask, Is this helping my peace or harming it? Am I choosing calm or inviting chaos? Your mind will follow your lead, but first you must lead it. Choose peace, choose it again, choose it until it becomes who you are. Emotional discipline is the hidden door to freedom. Most people believe freedom means doing whatever you feel like, sleeping in, snapping back, quitting when it's hard, indulging every craving. But that is not freedom. That is captivity disguised as choice. That is your emotions making the rules. That is your impulses playing the king. Real freedom is something stronger, higher. Real freedom is doing what you decided to do, regardless of how you feel. When emotion rules your life, you become a slave to the moment. Your anger drives your voice. Your fear controls your choices. Your doubt stalls your progress. And when that happens, you become predictable. Predictable to your enemies, predictable to your competitors, predictable to anyone who knows how to push your buttons, and the predictable man is the easiest to control. But what happens when you break that pattern? What happens when you refuse to let emotion dictate your action? You become a different kind of man, one who can see his emotions without obeying them. You feel the fear, but step forward anyway. You feel the rage, but you stay silent. You feel the discouragement, but you keep going. That is emotional discipline. That is the highest form of self-command. This does not mean you feel nothing. You are not stone. You are not numb. In fact, you feel deeply, but you choose wisely. You don't run from your feelings. You rise above them. You hear them knocking, but you do not hand them the wheel. You remain centered, clear, and calm, even in chaos. That is what separates the warrior from the wanderer, the leader from the follower. You build this strength in small moments. When you're irritated, smile instead of snapping. When you're tired, stand taller instead of slouching. When you're discouraged, speak strength into your soul. These acts may feel small, even silly, but they are the training ground of greatness. Discipline is not built in public. It is built in the quiet decisions you make when no one's watching. Picture a warrior in battle. He sees the enemy charging. Fear rises like a flood in his chest. His hands tremble, his breathing shortens. Every instinct tells him to run. But he doesn't drop his sword. He feels the fear, but he grips tighter. He plants his feet, and in that choice, that single moment, he changes everything. He doesn't win because he feels no fear. He wins because he doesn't obey it. Now ask yourself, what do you do when fear shows up? When doubt creeps in? When mood shifts? Do you drop your sword? Your goals, your standards, your values? Every time your emotions shift? Or do you hold steady? Do you stand firm? That's the test. That's what defines the depth of your discipline. Emotional discipline is not about force. It's not about suppressing everything you feel. It's about direction. It's about choosing your response with purpose. And that response becomes your reality. Over time, these choices stack. Each moment of self-control becomes a brick in the house of your future. And soon, you look back and realize you have built your life, not on impulse, but on intention. This discipline gives you something rare, something powerful: independence. Independence from your mood. Independence from other people's approval. Independence from the chaos around you. No one can bait you into foolishness. No one can guilt you into compromise. No one can flatter you off your path. You become immovable. And in a world full of men who crumble at every breeze, that kind of man is feared and followed. You don't get there overnight. You build it choice by choice, day by day. You fail sometimes, but you return. You slip, but you stand again. That's the path. That's the price. But what you gain is priceless. Freedom. Not just to do what you want, but to become who you truly are. So now the question stands, will you walk through that door? The door marked discipline? Will you choose the steady path, even when emotion screams otherwise? Will you keep your sword drawn, even when your hand trembles? The battle is not against the world, it's not against others, it's against the part of you that wants to quit when it's hard, loud, or uncertain. And when you master that part, you master everything. Emotional discipline is the gateway, not just to success, but to your highest self. Open the door, walk through it, and never look back. The man who cannot be offended controls the room. A man insults you in front of others. A rumor begins to circle your name. A colleague mocks your work with a smirk, a whisper, or a careless comment. In that moment, all eyes seem to turn toward you. Waiting, watching. What happens next? Do you flare up, launch a defense, snap back with a clever retort, or do you pause? Not because you are weak, but because you are far above it. The moment you become offended, You hand over your power. You allow someone else's words to hijack your peace. They struck a match, and you let it burn your inner world. The offended man becomes controlled, not in command. The more you react, the more you reveal where you're vulnerable, where you're exposed. In trying to look strong, you actually become predictable and easily manipulated. But imagine this instead. Nothing shakes you. A man slings words like stones, and you remain unmoved. Not because you didn't hear them, but because you know who you are. You've trained your mind to remain centered, even when your name is dragged through the mud. You don't waste energy chasing every critic. You don't bleed from wounds that don't exist. That isn't apathy, it's mastery. Offense, more often than not, is the child of ego, not truth. Ego screams, "He disrespected me. They need to be corrected. I can't let this slide." But that's just pride begging to be fed. And the more you feed your ego, the hungrier it becomes. True strength lies in starving the ego, not stroking it. It lies in choosing stillness when your lower self craves drama. So train yourself. It's not natural at first. You will feel the heat rise when you're insulted. You will feel the sting when you're mocked. But in that moment, pause. Ask yourself, is this truly about me, or is it about them, their insecurity, their bitterness, their need to provoke? Respond with curiosity, not combat. Ask questions, or say nothing at all. Let silence be your sword. Let your results do the talking. A man's character is measured not by what he says when all is calm, but by how he holds himself when the world tries to shake him. Think of a courtroom again. Two men, both under pressure. One is red-faced, shouting, waving arms, desperate to be heard. The other, composed, still, speaking only when it matters. The truth sits in his silence. He doesn't fight for dominance because he already owns it. Which man would you trust? Which one has real strength? Words alone can't tarnish truth, and insults can't diminish results. So next time someone tries to pull you down, stop and ask, is this even worth my energy? Most of the time you'll realize it's beneath you. It's not your job to react to every petty jab or jealous murmur. It's your job to move forward with dignity, with clarity, with power that doesn't need to prove itself. Do not let every slight steal your peace. Do not let small minds drag you into small fights. The world will always have critics. That's not a problem. It's a promise. But what they say matters far less than how you carry yourself through it, because nothing terrifies weak men more than the one they can't get a reaction out of. The one who rises above offense walks into every room with quiet authority. Why? Because he cannot be baited. He cannot be flattered off course, nor insulted into a fight. He's not distracted by noise. He's focused on mission. And that focus gives him an aura of power that can't be manufactured through volume or show. So the next time you're insulted, remember, you have a choice: to respond or to rise, to react or to reign. You don't need to lower yourself to the level of the attacker. In fact, you elevate yourself every time you choose restraint over retaliation. That single decision says more about you than 1,000 defensive words ever could. Offense is not the truth. Offense is a test, and every time you pass it, you gain strength, you gain clarity, you gain control. Real control, not of others, but of yourself. And that is where true authority begins. So walk tall, let them talk, let them whisper, let them provoke. And you stay calm, you stay above, you stay focused, because nothing weakens a man more than constant reaction, and nothing commands more respect than a man who doesn't flinch when poked. Choose not to be offended, not just once, but as a way of life. That choice alone will separate you, it will elevate you, and in time, it will protect you from the very chaos others try to drag you into. Let your silence be power. Let your peace be your posture. And let the world watch, but never control, the man who cannot be moved. Let silence be your sword. Most speak to prove something. Few stay silent to prove everything. In the heat of emotion, when voices rise and egos clash, silence is not weakness. It's dominance without display. In a world flooded with noise, everyone tries to out-talk the other. But the wise man steps back. He knows the value of restraint. He understands that silence can strike deeper than the sharpest insult. He lets others reveal themselves while he remains a mystery. He plays chess while they shout over checkers. His silence isn't passive, it's calculated. It watches, it waits, it chooses. In emotional moments, silence becomes your greatest ally. You are not required to respond to every word, comment, or provocation. The urge to react is the exact thing that gives your power away. But when you choose not to respond, you reclaim control. You pause, you breathe, you analyze. Silence is space, and in that space you find clarity. You see past the drama, past the ego, past the bait. Most fall into traps with your own words. The man who masters silence never plays someone else's game. He rewrites the rules. You don't need to win every argument. You don't need to correct every fool who speaks nonsense. In fact, trying to prove your intelligence to the ignorant is itself a form of ego. The world is full of men chasing approval, trying to outshine each other, dying to be heard. Be the man who doesn't need the spotlight, because he is the light. Let them talk. Let them brag. Let them scramble. You just observe. And when the moment comes, you speak with precision, and the whole room shifts. Silence isn't absence, it's focused presence. It says, I am here, but I do not need to prove it. The man who is comfortable in silence controls the conversation before he ever speaks. Why? Because silence invites curiosity. It demands respect. It makes people listen harder when you finally speak, because they know it wasn't out of impulse. Your words carry weight because they are rare, and rare things are valued. This is how kings rule, not with noise, but with presence. Picture a room full of men arguing, every voice trying to climb over the other, each man more desperate to dominate than the last. But there's one man sitting still, arms folded, calm eyes. He says nothing, but everyone watches him. Why? Because he's not just in the room, he owns it. He doesn't need to shout. He doesn't need to prove. His silence is strength. His stillness is strategy. He doesn't waste energy. He preserves it. That's the man they respect. That's the man they fear. Use silence as a weapon. In the presence of chaos, close your mouth and open your eyes. Watch how quickly people lose composure. Watch how easily their insecurities spill out. While they reveal everything, you reveal nothing. While they burn energy, you build it. While they react, you respond. This isn't passive, it's power in its purest form. The less you speak in tension, the more you see. And what you see gives you the advantage they'll never have. Too many men fear silence. They fear what others might think. They fear being seen as weak or disconnected. But in truth, silence commands more than any speech. Ask yourself, when emotions rise, will you fill the space with noise, or will you fill the room with presence? One makes you forgettable. The other makes you unforgettable. A man in control of his tongue is a man in control of his life. And that control starts with choosing when not to speak. Silence is more than the absence of words. It is the foundation of your strength. It reveals emotional maturity. It sharpens your awareness. It protects your energy. And it ensures that when you finally open your mouth, your voice lands with authority. Most men use words to prove power. The wise man uses silence to build it. Then, when he speaks, everyone listens. Not out of fear, but out of respect for the restraint he showed. So here's your test. Next time someone insults you, misunderstands you, or baits you into reaction, pause. Don't speak to satisfy your pride. Don't react to protect your image. Sit with it. Let the silence do the heavy lifting. Let their emotions bounce off your stillness like waves against stone. That's not weakness. That's indestructible self-control. The man who knows when to speak, and more importantly, when to wait, that man cannot be defeated, because his power isn't in his volume, it's in his vision. And from that vision comes timing, from that timing comes influence, and from that influence comes respect that noise can never buy. Let others shout. You lead in silence. Beware the man who can lead himself most. People are waiting for motivation, waiting for the right mood, waiting for someone to notice them, validate them, or push them. They tell themselves they'll start when they feel ready. But the truth is, readiness is a myth. The rare few who rise above the crowd, they aren't waiting. They lead themselves. They don't need a spark to move. They are the spark. They rise before dawn not because they're in the mood, but because their mission demands it. They don't need applause. Their discipline is the applause. You were not built to be pushed like a wheelbarrow. You were built to push yourself. That is the essence of freedom. You move not because someone yelled loud enough, but because you refused to sit still. Greatness does not answer to moods, it answers to standards, and those standards are self-imposed, self-monitored, and self-enforced. You are your own commander. To lead yourself is to set rules that don't bend with your emotions. Wake early, not because you feel like it, but because your future demands it. Speak with clarity, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. Work hard when no one's watching, not because of pressure, but because of purpose. You move from conviction, not convenience. You hold a line, not for a pat on the back, but because that line defines who you are. Imagine a lone craftsman in his shop before the sun rises. The world sleeps. He doesn't. There is no boss to scold him, no crowd to cheer him, just him and the work. Candlelight flickers, wood shavings fall, the sound of the blade against timber echoes through silence. That's not routine, that's devotion, that's self-leadership. He does it because his soul demands it, and because he won't betray his own standard. Ask yourself, are you still waiting for someone to believe in you? For someone to give you permission? Or will you move forward as if the belief already exists inside you? Because here's the secret, no one's coming. No one's going to hand you the life you dream about. If you're waiting for permission, you'll die in the waiting room. The world respects the man who acts, not the one who waits. Emotion is a flickering flame, unreliable, temporary, and unpredictable. But leadership, especially self-leadership, is a furnace, a steady fire you stoke with daily action. It doesn't burn on hype, it burns on habits. It burns on discipline. And when you master that furnace, you stop needing to feel motivated, because you've become the kind of man who moves regardless. Self-leadership makes you dangerous. Why? Because the man who leads himself cannot be controlled by trends, guilt, rejection, or failure. He is not swayed by applause, nor defeated by criticism. He is anchored. And anchored men are rare. Anchored men are respected. Anchored men change the world, even if they walk alone doing it. You cannot manipulate a man who no longer needs external approval. This kind of leadership begins in small, quiet places. It begins when you get up on time, when no one would blame you for sleeping in. It begins when you stick to your word, even when it costs you. It begins when you keep building the dream, even when progress is invisible. Every time you act in alignment with your highest standard, you lead yourself. And that leadership echoes louder than any cheer ever could. Here's the truth most never face. You will be tested when no one is watching. You will be judged not by what you do on stage, but by what you do in the shadows. Will you lead yourself when no one's clapping? Will you stay committed when no one notices? That's where true power lives, in the hidden hours, in the quiet consistency, in the invisible victories that form your foundation. So ask yourself right now, can I be trusted to lead when no one claps? Can I be counted on by myself? Because if you can't trust your own word, your own discipline, your own drive, then why should the world? Leadership doesn't begin with titles or followers. It begins with a choice. The choice to rise, to act, to own your path, no matter what. No applause? Good. You don't need it. You are not a performer. You are a builder. Applause fades. Headlines change, but your standards remain. The man who leads himself, especially when it's hard, lonely, or thankless, becomes unstoppable. Because he isn't powered by praise, he's powered by purpose. So stop waiting. Stop asking for permission. Stop hoping to feel ready. Decide, move, lead, stoke your furnace daily, and let your actions make the noise. Because one day, the world will look around in awe and realize you never needed them. You just needed you. The wise man prepares before the storm. You don't wait for the rain to build a roof. And you don't wait for the crisis to build control. If you wait for chaos to strike before strengthening your mind, it's already too late. Most men wait until they're knee-deep in disaster before they try to summon discipline. But discipline is not summoned, it's built. You prepare before the trouble comes, not during it. When the winds rise and the ground shakes, the man who built his foundation in peace stands firm. The man who didn't, he gets swept away, not because the storm was unfair, but because he refused to prepare. Storms don't create weakness, they reveal it. Men who crumble in adversity often blame the storm. They curse the situation, the timing, the unfairness of life. But storms are not optional, they're inevitable. Difficulty doesn't make exceptions. It visits the rich and poor, the young and old, the kind and cruel. The only question is, will it find you ready? You cannot control when the storm arrives, but you can control whether it finds you fortified. Storms expose who trained when no one was watching and who lived on autopilot. The blame isn't the weather, the blame is the unpreparedness. Stop asking life to be easy. Start training for when it's not. Start now. Don't wait. Train your mind while it's still calm. Use peaceful seasons to build powerful habits. Read books that challenge you. Journal while things are stable. That's when your thinking is clearest. Practice patience even on easy days so that when hard days come, you're already fluent in it. Develop mental routines. Build rituals of focus and self-restraint. These daily disciplines may seem small until life tests you. Then they become everything. The quiet work becomes your loudest ally in the storm. Why go to such effort? Because when life hits, and it will, your preparation becomes your shield, not your mood, not your feelings. Emotions are unreliable in chaos. They panic, spiral, freeze. But your discipline, your structure, your mental rehearsal, that's what carries you. That's your compass in confusion. That's the difference between those who react and those who respond. One is tossed, the other navigates. Emotional men collapse. Prepared men endure. They walk through fire not because they feel nothing, but because they trained for it. Picture a sailor. He doesn't wait for towering waves to start learning. He studies the stars. He memorizes the map. He drills for disaster when the waters are still. He practices knots, studies weather patterns, walks the deck with his eyes closed. So when the storm comes, and it always comes, he isn't guessing. He's responding. His hands move without hesitation. His focus sharpens. His training takes over. That sailor doesn't survive the storm because of luck. He survives because of preparation. Now ask yourself, will you live at the mercy of every wave, every mood swing, every unexpected change? Or will you become the man who walks through storms with steady eyes and firm hands? The world doesn't stop shaking just because you want stillness. You must create stillness within yourself. That's what discipline gives you, a fortress inside your mind, so that no matter what breaks outside, you don't. Disaster only surprises the unprepared. To the trained mind, it is not a shock, it is a test. And tests are passed by those who studied long before they arrive. So build now. Build when the sun is out. Build when life is good. Build while no one's clapping. That's when it counts. Your strength is not forged in applause. It's forged in silence, in solitude, in daily choices. Build your mental fortress now, while the skies are blue, and when the winds rise, you'll lead. You'll stand tall when others fall. Waiting for trouble to begin, preparing is like stepping into a battlefield and trying to learn to fight. Too late. The war doesn't wait. Neither should you. Every day is training. Every moment is a brick. You're either building or decaying. Choose to build. And when the storm finally comes, not if, but when, you'll face it not with fear, but with readiness. And that readiness will set you apart. That readiness will make you unshakable. No one can take what you don't give away. Do they control your peace, or do you hand it to them? No one can steal your calm. No one can hijack your dignity. They can insult, provoke, belittle, and mock. But your response? That's yours, always. Power is not what they do to you. Power is what you choose not to give away. It's easy to react. It's easy to snap back. But that only shows they succeeded. True strength is remaining steady while others lose themselves. You hold the line because you are the line. Calm is your fortress, and you decide who enters. You are not a puppet. You are not made of strings they get to pull. But if your peace collapses every time someone criticizes you, if you crumble at disagreement or wilt under judgment, then ask yourself, who's holding your strings? You or them? Every time you react without thinking, every time you defend your worth to someone who doesn't deserve your energy, you hand them the reins. And the more you do it, the less control you keep. Silence, your stillness, your refusal to be rattled, that is your power. Don't give it away. Stop chasing every loud voice. Stop engaging every skeptic. Not everything said deserves your response. In fact, most things don't. The more grounded you are, the less explaining you need to do. You don't owe your presence to every insult, your energy to every provocation, or your emotions to every doubter. Hold your frame. That means standing tall, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, no matter what's thrown your way. It means having a core, not a fuse. You are under no obligation to flinch, to react, to prove anything. Strength is quiet. Let others waste their breath while you conserve yours. Picture a man walking a tightrope across a great height. Below, a crowd jeers, mocks, laughs, and screams. Some praise, others doubt. But the man keeps his eyes forward. He doesn't look down. He doesn't acknowledge the noise. He doesn't respond to every voice in the crowd, because he knows the stakes. One wrong move, one lost focus, one slip in attention, and it's over. That rope is his path. That balance is his peace. He protects it at all costs. Life is just like that. Every reaction is a step. Take the wrong one, and you fall. So ask yourself, are you giving your balance to the crowd? Are you letting your mood rise and fall with every cheer or criticism? Why give that much power to people who haven't earned your trust? Their approval is not your oxygen. Their opinions are not your compass. Let them speak. Let them doubt. Let them try to shake you. You walk forward, eyes focused, soul anchored. They can't reach a man who's not giving anything away. Your calm becomes their confusion. Your peace becomes their mirror. There's a quiet, unshakable power in not reacting, in letting the world scream while you stay still, in being the one who doesn't flinch. That man is not cold, he is composed. That man is not passive, he is poised. The world throws bait constantly: criticism, gossip, manipulation, envy. Most bite, but the man who doesn't, he becomes untouchable because he leads himself. He doesn't play their game. He doesn't take their bait. And in doing so, he wins. Remember this: they only win if you give something away: your dignity, your calm, your confidence, your clarity. When you rise to every insult, you shrink. When you meet every provocation, you give up control. But when you refuse to react, you remain sovereign. You remain in command of your emotions, your path, and your presence. That's power no one can fake. That's peace no one can steal. And that's the man people trust, follow, and remember. So, hold your frame, hold your ground, not with clenched fists, but with calm eyes and steady breath. Let storms pass, let noise fade, let doubters burn themselves out trying. You are not here to convince anyone. You are here to walk your tightrope, with purpose, with poise, and without apology. The man who can lead his own emotions will always walk taller than the one chasing everyone else's approval. You already have what you need: the power to choose stillness, the wisdom to stay centered, the strength to remain unmoved. Don't trade that for a moment of pride or a quick reaction. Let them talk. Let them misunderstand. Let them doubt. You don't owe them chaos. You owe yourself peace. They only win if you let them. Will you, or will you keep your hands on the wheel, your soul intact and your peace untouchable? You are either a slave to emotion or a master of decision. Every single day you are presented with a choice. Will you let your emotions rule you, or will you lead yourself with principle? These are not just questions of discipline. They are the foundation of your character. If you choose to act only when it feels good, you'll be like a leaf blown around in the wind, tossed by every shift in mood, every wave of doubt, frustration, or laziness. Your life becomes a reaction, not a direction. But if you decide to move based on what is right, even when it's hard, you build something solid, something strong. You become dependable. And in a world full of emotional noise, dependability is power. It's easy to act with grace when everything is going your way. Anyone can be calm when the sun is shining, but pressure exposes the truth. Your real character is revealed in the heat of frustration, betrayal, and exhaustion. When the weight is heavy and your nerves are raw, that is when the truth comes out. Will you break down? Will you lash out? Or will you pause, remember who you are, and act from principle instead of pain? That moment is everything. The decision you make when it's hard carries more weight than 100 made in comfort. The man who can pause under pressure is rare. The man who chooses action guided by principle, instead of being pulled by temporary feelings, becomes a lighthouse in the middle of chaos. He stands tall, unmoved, a reference point for others. People feel it. They trust it. Not because he's perfect, but because he's steady. He does not flinch when tested. He does not fall apart when things don't go his way. His mood doesn't change his mission. His principles aren't traded for pleasure, and that makes him powerful. Picture a battlefield. Bullets are flying, men are panicking, confusion reigns, and in the middle of it all stands the commander. He doesn't scream, he doesn't run, he doesn't make decisions in haste. He breathes, he waits for clarity. Then he moves, slowly, decisively. His voice cuts through the noise because it's not powered by panic, it's powered by purpose. That's what you must become, a leader, not just in your work, but in your own life. The man who can remain calm when the world burns. That calm doesn't mean absence of emotion, it means mastery of it. Discipline is not the absence of feeling, it's the ability to move despite them. Stop waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect mood, the perfect state of mind. Those rarely come. You must act based on what's right, not what's comfortable. Use your discipline to override your hesitation, to override your rage, to override your weakness. The world has enough men who crumble when it's hard. What it needs is more who choose to lead anyway. Men who do what's necessary, not because they feel like it, but because they committed to it. Feelings are temporary, principles are timeless. And every time you act on a principle, when emotion says otherwise, you strengthen that principle. It becomes easier next time and the time after that. Eventually, you become a man not moved by winds, but by a compass built within. You make decisions not for today's comfort, but for tomorrow's outcome. You think long term. You choose the difficult thing, knowing it builds the life you want. Because the truth is, every emotional decision has a cost. But every principled decision builds value. Think back to the times you lost control, times you yelled, quit, or acted on impulse. Did those moments bring you closer to who you wanted to become? Likely not. Now think of the times you paused, chose grace, chose restraint, chose discipline. Those are the moments that built respect for yourself and from others. You cannot lead your life if you're a slave to mood. You must govern yourself before you can govern anything else. And that governance begins with acting on principle consistently. So here's the question you must ask yourself, not once, but daily. Am I moved by my emotions, or do I move in spite of them? Because one path makes you a slave to the chaos inside and around you. The other makes you a man who can be trusted, followed, and respected. You won't always feel like it, but you can always choose it. Don't let your feelings make your decisions. Let your values make them. And in doing so, you'll rise far above those who let every emotion steer the wheel. In a noisy world, a principled man becomes a rare and powerful force. He becomes someone others rely on, not because he always feels good, but because he always chooses well. And in the end, that's what defines greatness. Not how you feel, but how you lead yourself through those feelings. The storm will come, but you will not drift. Because your anchor is not emotion, it is principle. Train yourself to feel without falling apart. Feelings aren't your enemy. Suppression isn't strength. Real strength is learning to feel everything without letting it master you. Too many believe that to be strong means to be stoic, to never cry, never shake, never feel pain. But that's not mastery. That's fear wearing armor. You are given emotion for a reason. Emotion connects you to others, deepens your perception, sharpens your compassion. But emotion, without training, becomes chaos. It becomes a wave that tosses your judgment, clouds your focus, and drowns your mission. Strength is not found in denying emotion. It's found in directing it. You're not here to numb yourself. You're here to discipline your inner life, to feel fully, but live intentionally. Untrained emotion is dangerous. It sabotages relationships. It distorts decisions. It makes mountains from molehills and turns quiet moments into storms. Emotion is meant to inform your life, not run it. The man who has no control over his feelings is not free. He's reactive, tossed around by frustration, doubt, pride, and fear. One harsh word ruins his whole day. One insult breaks his focus. One fear stops his progress. But the man who trains his emotions, he becomes stable, grounded, capable of holding all the weight and still moving forward. He's not cold. He's clear. And that clarity gives him power. When sadness visits, welcome it, but don't let it settle. Use it, write it, channel it, build something from it. When anger rises, pause. Don't punch the wall, punch the page. Hit the gym, turn that fire into fuel. When fear creeps in, look it in the eye. Don't run. Ask, what is this teaching me? You don't have to feel good to do good. You don't have to eliminate emotion to elevate your life. You just need to lead it. When you guide your emotions instead of obeying them, you gain what most men never find: emotional authority. Imagine a man carrying a cup of water through a maze of fire. If he panics and runs, the water spills. If he pauses, breathes, and moves with care, he makes it through. That water is your emotional energy, your clarity, your focus, your peace. The world will throw flames at you. Chaos will scream for your attention. But if you want to preserve your peace, you must learn to move mindfully. You can't afford to spill your energy every time life heats up. Control doesn't mean avoiding the fire. It means navigating it without wasting what matters. You are allowed to feel, but you are not obligated to react. When overwhelmed, write. Dump the chaos onto paper. Let the storm exist outside your mind. Walk alone, not to isolate, but to listen. Talk less. Say only what matters. Let silence be your space to sort through noise. Breathe more, long, slow breaths that return you to presence. Stillness is not weakness, it's strategy. You don't escape the world through stillness. You engage it better after finding your center again. Every storm you calm on the inside makes you stronger on the outside. Are you using your emotions as tools, or are they using you? That's the dividing line between strength and weakness. Tools build, chaos destroys. The man who lets his emotions dictate his every move is a slave to the moment. But the man who channels his emotions with purpose, that man becomes unstoppable. He doesn't waste his sadness. He writes truth with it. He doesn't suppress his anger. He sharpens his discipline through it. He doesn't hide from fear. He builds courage with it. Emotion is energy. The question is whether you're wasting it or wielding it. To master your emotional life is not to shut it down. It is to train it, to raise it like a wild horse until it becomes a trusted companion. Every great man you admire did not achieve his legacy by being cold. He felt the fear, the frustration, the grief, but he didn't let it paralyze him. He turned it into fuel, into focus, into fire. He let his emotion deepen his work, not destroy it. And now it's your turn. You are capable of that same mastery, that same inner command. But it starts with one question: will I feel deeply or drown recklessly? Embrace your emotions, but never let them steer the ship. Let them speak, but never let them scream over your wisdom. Use them to build, not break. You don't need to be a robot. You need to be a leader of yourself. When you can stand in a storm of emotion and still act from discipline, you become a man few can match. Your mind becomes your ally, your feelings become your fuel, and your path becomes one of clarity, not chaos. You don't have to be unfeeling to be unshakable. You have to be trained. So feel it all and keep walking. Let the emotion come, but you stay in command. That's how great men are built. That's how you will be built. One feeling at a time. Anger is a fire. Learn to burn it with purpose. Anger left wild is a destroyer. It burns relationships, ruins reputations, and scorches everything you've worked hard to build. A single outburst can undo years of trust. A single moment of rage can alter the course of your life. But anger, controlled, now that's a different story. That's not a curse. That's fuel. When you know how to shape it, anger becomes a source of power. It gives you energy. It sharpens your focus. It awakens parts of you that were asleep. It says something matters here. Pay attention. You were not born to let anger burn your house down. You were born to use its flame to forge something greater. Every man feels it. The only question is, what do you do with it? The difference between the weak and the strong is not whether they feel anger, it's how they handle it. The weak explode, the strong channel. The weak break things, the strong build things. The weak react without thinking, the strong pause, observe, and choose. You don't have to deny your anger. That's not strength. That's fear disguised as control. You have to direct your anger, make it work for you, not against you. Anger can fuel growth, clarity, and change, but only when you master it. If you don't, it masters you. Ask yourself, what do you usually do when anger rises? Do you lash out, curse, slam the door, burn the bridge, and then regret it a few minutes later? That regret is the signal that anger wasn't your tool. It was your tyrant. Now imagine a better version of yourself. One who feels that same fire but does not flinch. One who lets it rise, acknowledges it, but chooses to act from principle, not pressure. That's power. That's leadership over self. That's who you're capable of becoming. When the heat rises, pause. Don't speak. Don't act. Don't send the message. Don't post the reply. Instead, write. Write it all down. Every word you wanted to scream, put it on paper. Let the page absorb the fury. Then breathe. Deeply. Fully. Get oxygen to the brain before emotion turns to damage. Then ask, what outcome do I want? What do I actually want to build, preserve, or accomplish here? Let your answer to that guide your next move, not the wave of emotion. That's the shift from reaction to response. This isn't about burying the fire. It's about shaping it. A blacksmith doesn't fear the flame, he works with it. He doesn't throw it at the walls of his shop. He controls it, channels it, uses it to forge steel. Your anger is the same. It's heat, it's intensity, it's life. But if you don't contain it, it burns everything down. If you do contain it, it forges weapons. It builds the edge you need to cut through obstacles, critics, doubt, and delay. Imagine being insulted in public. Everyone's watching. The old you'd shout. You'd fire back, maybe even lose your temper entirely. And what would that prove? That you can be pulled into chaos like anyone else. But the wiser version of you, he lets it pass, doesn't feed the fire, doesn't rise to the bait. Instead, he stores that heat and uses it later, in silence, through performance, through results. The insult gets buried beneath excellence. That's the art of outlasting every enemy, not through loudness, but through legacy. Anger is not your enemy. It is a powerful friend, if trained. Left alone, it will sabotage you. It will make you say things you can't unsay. It will make you take actions you can't undo. But when disciplined, it becomes your edge. It gives you drive. It gives you fire. You stop needing approval. You stop asking for validation. You create, move, build, not because you're comfortable, but because you've learned how to channel discomfort into direct. That's how greatness is born, not from peace alone, but from refined chaos. Let your anger fuel your vision, not your vengeance. Let it drive your focus, not your fantasies of retaliation. Let it shape your morning routine, your next training session, your next speech. Let it remind you what you care about. And then use it silently, steadily, purposefully. Your enemies win when they get a reaction. They lose when you rise instead of roar. Don't feed them your energy. Don't give them your flame. Use that fire to build the life they can't touch. The question is simple. Are you willing to turn your greatest emotional fire into your sharpest edge? Are you willing to lead yourself through it rather than be led by it? That's what separates warriors from wreckage. Don't react, refine. Don't explode, execute. Let the world wonder how you stay so calm. Let them guess what drives you. Let them feel the intensity in your presence without ever hearing the rage in your voice. That's what makes you dangerous in the right way. Not because you're angry, but because you own your anger. You sharpen it, you train it, you use it, and you never, ever let it control you. Because you're not here to be ruled by emotion. You're here to rule it, and then rule your life with clarity, with strength, and with discipline forged in fire. Nothing grows in a mind that never rests you work. You plan, you strive. You push yourself to meet the standard, to chase your vision, to stay ahead of the curve. But even the most powerful machine needs rest, or it breaks. You may pride yourself on discipline, but discipline without recovery is unsustainable. A tired mind doesn't think, it reacts. A worn-out soul doesn't lead, it drifts. And when your energy collapses, it's not your strategy that takes over, it's your emotion. Your sharpness dulls, your patience thins, your fire burns you instead of fueling you. The very traits that make you strong begin to work against you. This isn't about laziness, this is about preservation. If you don't protect your energy, nothing you build will last. Not your focus, not your relationships, and not your purpose. Rest is not weakness. Rest is maintenance. Rest is preparation. The world glorifies hustle, but it forgets the truth that no engine, no matter how advanced, can run forever at full speed. You aren't designed to operate at 100% all the time. You're meant to move in rhythm, to alternate intensity with recovery. Rest isn't quitting, it's fueling up. It's sharpening your blade. It's reinforcing the structure before another storm. Without it, even your best work crumbles. The strongest men in history, warriors, thinkers, builders, all understood this. They rested with intention, not out of exhaustion, but because they valued performance that lasts. You must step back often to see clearly. When you're in the thick of it, your view narrows. You lose perspective. That's why the general climbs the hill, not to escape the battle, but to survey it. That's why a farmer lets the soil sit between harvests, to allow it to recover so it can produce again. You need those moments too, times when you zoom out, when you stop doing and start seeing. Only then can you realign your path, your priorities, your purpose. Rest is not stepping away from life, it's stepping above it so you can lead with clarity instead of chaos. Stillness is not a waste of time. It is where strength is rebuilt. In the quiet, your mind begins to process what chaos is buried. In the silence, you start hearing what noise has drowned. That's when your body heals. That's when your discipline resets. You don't become stronger in the storm. You become stronger between the storms. If you take time to breathe, the best ideas don't arrive in pressure. They arrive in peace. Some of your sharpest insights will come not when you're grinding, but when you're still enough to listen to yourself, to life, to wisdom. When you ignore this truth, your judgment clouds. You mistake frustration for failure. You lose your temper. You say things you don't mean. You start chasing distractions just to escape your fatigue. You fall off your routines, not because you're undisciplined, but because you're burned out. Fatigue doesn't always show up as tiredness. Sometimes it shows up as impatience, restlessness, overreaction. Your drive turns to anxiety. Your hunger turns to irritability. You stop acting with intention and start reacting to everything around you. Not because you're weak, but because you're worn out. Picture a wheel spinning endlessly. At first it's smooth, efficient, productive, but keep it spinning without pause and the bearings wear down. The parts heat up, the structure strains. Eventually it fails, not because it wasn't strong, but because it was never allowed to rest. Now imagine stopping the wheel at intervals, letting it cool, relubricating the gears. What happens? It lasts longer, it spins better, it serves more, and breaks less. You are that wheel. You need rhythm. You need moments where the speed slows and the center holds. Do you feel constantly frustrated, restless, anxious? Do your thoughts race even when your body is still? Maybe what you need isn't more productivity, but recovery. Maybe you don't need another goal. You need space to breathe. Your mind, like your body, has limits. Pushing past them doesn't make you heroic. It makes you reckless. Pause, reflect, let go, not forever, but just long enough to reset. Recovery is not retreat, it is rebirth. And without it, you will chase your tail thinking it's progress when really you're spinning in place. Protect your energy like you protect your time. Rest deliberately. Shut out the noise. Sit with your thoughts. Let your brain slow. Let your heart reset. Sleep deeply. Think freely. Move without urgency. These are not luxuries. They are requirements for anyone who wants to be sharp, focused, and strong. You don't need to earn rest by breaking down. You deserve it because you're building something that lasts. And lasting performance is always built on a foundation of intentional restoration. The sharpest decisions, the best insights, the most powerful actions, they rarely come when you're buried in work. They come after the pause, after the reset, after the silence. Don't mistake constant movement for real progress. Sometimes the most forward-moving thing you can do is stop. Because the man who rests well thinks clearer, feels deeper, and moves stronger. His effort is focused, his steps are deliberate, and his vision, it stays intact even when others collapse from exhaustion. So ask yourself honestly, will you make time to pause or will you run yourself into ruin? Will you rest with purpose or will you burn out trying to outrun the truth? Strength is not just in the sprint, it's in the stillness between strides. Learn when to push and when to pull back. That's how you endure. That's how you win. That's how you last. You will lose battles. Don't lose the war. You'll have bad days. You'll say things you regret. You'll feel the sting of frustration, lose your patience, and fall short of your standards. That's part of the process. So what? You're human. There will be moments when the noise gets in, when your discipline breaks, when your emotions override your better judgment. Don't turn that into a personal verdict. It's not a sign you're failing. It's a sign you're growing. Mastery isn't spotless, it's honest. It embraces the full range of the journey, the calm and the chaos, the clarity and the confusion. What separates the strong from the broken is not who avoids mistakes, but who recovers from them. The goal isn't to become untouchable. The goal is to become resilient. Progress doesn't mean perfection. It means you keep showing up even after you've stumbled. The man who expects to win every emotional battle is unprepared for life. Life will press you, provoke you, pull you in directions you didn't anticipate. You won't always respond the way you want to. And if you expect perfect composure at all times, you'll punish yourself endlessly for being human. But the man who knows how to lose well, who knows how to fall and then get back up sharper, that man wins the long war. Emotional mastery is not about always staying in control. It's about regaining control when you lose it. It's knowing that losing one round doesn't end the fight, unless you decide to quit. Strength is in the comeback, not just the command. You're not aiming for perfection, you're aiming for mastery. And mastery includes the mistakes. It includes reviewing the missteps and adjusting your course without self-condemnation. Shame does not improve your performance. Reflection does. You don't need to be flawless. You need to be aware. You need to be honest with yourself, not harsh with yourself. Every master in art, in combat, in leadership became great, not because they never failed, but because they paid attention to their failures. Mastery is built through trial, correction, and consistency. You're not here to look polished. You're here to be real, and being real means learning as you go. It means you give yourself grace without lowering your standard. After you fall, pause. Don't distract yourself. Don't spiral in guilt. Pause to reflect. Ask yourself, what triggered me? What belief got violated? What expectation did I have that reality didn't meet? Then adjust. What will you do next time? What structure, boundary, or mindset needs strengthening? Write it down, commit to it, but don't wallow. Guilt is only useful if it guides. Beyond that, it's weight. You cannot drive forward while staring in the rear view. Reflection is productive. Rumination is paralysis. Separate the two. One builds wisdom, the other builds regret. And regret has never built anything worth keeping. Ask yourself, why did I lose control? What can I learn from that moment? How can I prevent it from happening again? This is the essence of mental training. Not suppression, analysis. Not shame, strategy. Use each setback as a spotlight. It's trying to show you where your work is. Instead of hiding from your failures, study them. Treat each loss like a lesson. That's how you refine your approach. And that's how you move from reactive to intentional. Your job isn't to avoid every emotional wave. It's to surf them, to read them, to respond with more skill each time. Every setback is training. Every misstep is an invitation to examine your patterns, your pressure points, your defaults. When you fail emotionally, it's like lifting a weight that was too heavy. You didn't lose. You learned your current limit. Now you can train smarter. Now you know where to build strength. If you treat every emotional stumble as failure, you miss the gold inside the grind. Growth doesn't come from staying comfortable. It comes from hitting the edge and going further next time. That's why mistakes are not just expected, they're essential. You're building the muscle of awareness, choice, and correction. Each fall strengthens your footing, if you're willing to learn. Picture a boxer getting knocked down. The crowd roars, his opponent gloats, but the boxer doesn't quit. He doesn't just lie there and blame himself, he analyzes. He watches the replay in his mind. Where did he drop his guard? What did he miss? What pattern did he ignore? And next time, he adjusts. He dodges that same punch. He lasts longer. He fights smarter. That's how mastery is built, not through staying on your feet every time, but through learning faster after every fall. It's the same in life, the same in your emotions. Each fall is a clue. Use it. So are you learning from your emotional slips or letting them define you? Are you reviewing your reactions and rewiring your reflexes, or are you labeling yourself as broken and calling it truth? The man who trains through his emotional failures becomes emotionally formidable. His control doesn't come from natural calm. It comes from intentional correction. He studies himself like a warrior studies his own fight footage. He doesn't just want to win. He wants to understand the process of winning. That's what makes him dangerous. That's what makes him wise. Control is not built in one day. It is forged through daily reflection, deliberate action, consistent correction, and recommitment. There's no shortcut, only repetition, only honesty, only the quiet work of reviewing your choices, adjusting your aim, and stepping back into the ring again and again. Each time, you rise with more insight, more discipline, more command. That's not failure, that's evolution. You don't need to be perfect, you need to be progressing. Don't fear the fall. Fear staying down. Falling is part of growth. Stagnation is the real enemy. Shame keeps you down. Reflection lifts you up. The question isn't whether you'll mess up. You will. The question is whether you'll learn fast enough to become stronger from it. Each time you get up, you reinforce a deeper truth. You are not defined by your worst moment. You are defined by what you build from it. Get up, refocus, recommit, and keep rising. Mastery begins in the morning. Before the world demands anything of you, demand something from yourself. Before the obligations, the noise, you must decide who you are and how you will show up. Most people let the day shape them. The wise man shapes the day before it begins. Your time in the morning is not just preparation, it's declaration. It's your chance to command your path, establish your pace, and align with your principles. If you give your first hour to the world, don't be surprised when the rest of your day belongs to chaos. But if you give it to your inner world, everything changes. Begin by ruling yourself, and soon, nothing external can rule over you. The first hour of your day is your throne. It's sacred ground. It sets the tone for how you think, how you speak, how you react. Begin your day in confusion, and confusion multiplies. Begin in anger, and conflict follows. But begin in clarity, and clarity expands. Begin in conviction, and conviction anchors every decision. Don't leave your mind set up to chance. Build it intentionally. Your habits in that first hour shape your energy, your resilience, and your discipline. It's not just a routine. It's a ritual. And rituals make men into warriors. You don't just want a good day. You want a dominated day. And that begins before sunrise. Wake early. Sit in silence. Think right. Don't react. Speak to yourself with focus. not to impress, but to remind. Remind yourself of your values, your goals, your standards. No one will do this work for you. If you don't train your mind in the morning, the world will train it for you with fear, urgency, drama, and distraction. Morning is when your mental soil is soft. That's when you plant the seed. By midday, the world's already sowing weeds. But if you've already claimed your ground, you can protect it. This is your duty. Start the day before the world starts you. Reactive mornings are a silent thief. You oversleep. You spill coffee. You're late. You argue. You forget things. You sprint from task to task, but you're already behind. You start the day on defense, and you never quite recover. Your emotions rise faster than your judgment. Your peace vanishes before you've even earned it. This isn't about just waking up early. It's about rising with purpose. Your day is a battle. Why would you step onto the field without armor? Chaos at the start almost guarantees chaos throughout. Don't sabotage yourself in the first round. But when you wake before the noise, everything shifts. You open your eyes not to pressure, but to presence. You move with intention. You walk into your routine as a leader, not a reactor. You breathe, you stretch, you reflect. The silence isn't emptiness, it's alignment. And once your center is set, the day begins to bend to you. You don't chase time. Time responds to your pace. And that's the secret few understand. When you command the morning, the world starts answering to your energy, not the other way around. Think of a sculptor facing a fresh block of stone. The first strike matters. Too hard, and the piece cracks. Too soft, and nothing forms. That's your morning. Every move carves your mindset. Every action sets a groove. The first hour is when your emotional tone is most malleable. Strike with anger, and you chip away your patience. Strike with distraction, and you dull your focus. But strike with precision, with intention, with discipline, and you sculpt yourself into the man you're becoming. Begin well, and the entire day becomes a masterpiece in your hands. Distractions in the morning are more dangerous than they appear. A message, a headline, they seem harmless, but they fracture your direction. They pull you into reaction. Suddenly you're thinking about someone else's issue before you've addressed your own purpose. You lose your edge before you've sharpened it. Don't let someone else's urgency become your emergency. Guard that first hour like your life depends on it, because in many ways it does. Your momentum, your clarity, your stability, they're all set in motion during that sacred window. Protect it fiercely. Imagine this instead. The first thing you do each day is declare who you are, what you value, what you will not tolerate. You affirm your mission. You speak life into yourself. You set your standards, not for the world's approval, but for your own alignment. You're not waiting to feel ready. You decide readiness. You don't stumble into the day. You step into it fully equipped. That's not motivation. That's self-command. And the more you do this, the more natural it becomes. You don't rise hoping for a good day. You rise and make one. Your morning doesn't need to be complicated. It needs to be intentional. Silence, structure, strength. Just 60 minutes of clarity can outperform 10 hours of scattered activity. Read something that elevates you. Write something that centers you. Move your body. Breathe deeply. Plan your battles. Repeat your principles. Set your rhythm before the world interrupts it. And when the noise comes, and it always does, you'll be rooted, not rattled. Because you didn't wake up to the world. You woke up to yourself. That's a man people follow. That's a man the world can't shake. You must decide, will your morning be yours or theirs? Will it be guided by intention or hijacked by noise? The man who commands the first hour commands the day. The man who reacts through the first hour gets dragged by it. This is not about being a morning person. It's about being a self-led person, and self-leadership starts when most are still asleep, both literally and mentally. You rise early not just for productivity, but for sovereignty. You become the sculptor, not the sculpture. So here's your challenge. Don't just wake up. Rise with reason. Get out of bed with your mind already fixed. Train before the sun rises. Speak truth into your life before lies find you. Don't rush. Breathe. Reflect. Own. When the world begins to pull, you'll be anchored. When demands begin to climb, you'll already be ahead. When others lose their grip, you'll tighten yours. Your morning is not a gap between sleep and work. It's your foundation for greatness. And if you master that, the rest of life begins to obey you. Control your emotions, or someone else will. If you don't guard your emotions, someone else will weaponize them. The world is filled with manipulators, not all malicious, but all hungry for control. They'll use fear to freeze your ambition. They'll use guilt to make you move against your values. They'll use praise to steer your loyalty, and they'll use anger to make you explode and lose your footing. Your emotions, left unguarded, become tools for someone else's agenda. Control them, and you remain a leader. Ignore them, and you become a puppet. Reacting, apologizing, defending, explaining. You don't need to become emotionless, but you must become masterful. Otherwise, your emotions will betray you at the worst moment when clarity is critical and your future depends on your next move. This world doesn't reward the loudest voice or the most emotional outburst. It rewards the most composed. The man who stays centered when the room shakes. The one who breathes deeply when others lose control. In chaos, people follow stillness. In drama, they seek out clarity. The man who remains calm doesn't just survive, he leads. And while others burn out, react, or spiral, he makes moves with precision. Not because he's cold, but because he's trained. That's the secret most miss. Control is not born from natural detachment. It's forged through daily decisions to pause, observe, and choose your next step, not let it be chosen for you. If others can control your feelings, they own your future. When your mood rises and falls based on someone else's approval or provocation, you are not living your life. You're dancing to a rhythm written by another, and the consequences are real. The wrong decision, made in anger or fear, can take years to fix. The wrong word, spoken in emotional haste, can fracture trust permanently. And every time you let someone else guide your emotions, they tighten their grip on your choices. And those choices, your reactions, your regrets, your redirections, shape your destiny. So the question becomes, who is steering your ship? Take it back. Take back your attention. Take back your tone. Take back your response. You don't need to answer every insult. You don't need to rush to correct every misunderstanding. Every time you respond instead of react, you build inner command. And command is power. Not over others, but over yourself. That's what freedom truly is, the ability to feel emotion fully, without being ruled by it. It's not about being passive, it's about being precise, knowing that your next move matters, and it should be shaped by wisdom, not by someone else's manipulations. You build this control by becoming unprovoked. That doesn't mean you ignore life, it means you rise above it. When they push, you pause. When they bait, you breathe. When they expect an explosion, you offer silence. Not because you're weak, but because you've decided to be strong. Reactions are easy. Responses are earned. And every time you resist the urge to react immediately, you reclaim territory within yourself. That's how kings rise, not through domination, but through discernment. Not through noise, but through nobility of mind. Picture a lion in the wild. The jungle is filled with movement, birds calling, monkeys screaming, prey rustling in the grass. But the lion doesn't flinch at every sound. He doesn't chase every distraction. He waits, he watches, he moves only when it's time. That's why he leads. He owns the moment because he doesn't react to it. That's how you must become. People will poke, prod, test your limits. They'll try to pull you into petty arguments, in emotional spirals. But you must remain like the lion, grounded, focused, selective in your action. You must stop dancing to every beat that isn't your own. You weren't made to be dragged into every conflict, every mood swing, every drama. Your energy is not infinite. Your attention is sacred. And every time you allow others to hijack your emotions, you drain both. You cannot build greatness if your feelings belong to someone else. You cannot create peace if your reactions are triggered by noise. Stand still, breathe, return to your rhythm, your pace, your mission. Let the world shout. You move only when it matters. Power leaks through constant reaction. Every time you rise to defend your name unnecessarily, every time you argue for validation, every time you lose your temper, you hand over a piece of your strength. Enough of those pieces and you're left hollow. Stop giving it away. Let no one decide how you feel. Let no one guide your morning, your mood, or your mindset. You were not built to be swayed. You were built to anchor. You lead your emotions like a general leads an army, with vision, with control, with an end in mind. Your emotions are not your enemies. They are signals, and when you listen to them without becoming enslaved by them, they serve you well. Anger can drive change. Fear can sharpen focus. Sadness can deepen wisdom. But none of these should decide your behavior. That's your job. Feel them fully and filter them wisely. Ask, what is this emotion trying to teach me? Then act from that understanding, not from the impulse. This is what separates masters from amateurs. This is what separates peace from chaos. Control is built in stillness, in awareness, in daily reflection. Each time you pause before reacting, you get stronger. Each time you catch the emotional wave before it crashes, you gain clarity. You won't always get it right. You'll slip, you'll snap. But if you're committed to learning, you'll grow faster. And with each test, you'll become more unshakable. That's emotional discipline, the true foundation of power. The world will test it. People will push it. But your strength lies not in perfection, it lies in preparation. Own your emotions or be owned by them. That is the line. On one side, chaos, confusion, lost time, and constant regret. On the other side, clarity, command, and forward momentum. You must choose, not once, but every day, in every conversation, in every conflict, in every moment that tries to steal your stillness. Own your breath. Own your tone, own your presence, because the man who owns his inner world cannot be shaken by the outer one. So which one will it be? Will you live ruled by your reactions, or will you rise as the master of your mind? Will you dance to the world's noise, or move in silence with purpose? The power is yours. The question is, will you take it back? Control your emotions, and you control your future. The world will test you, provoke you, and try to shake you. But when you remain calm, you remain powerful. Keep your center, guard your peace, and never forget, your reaction writes your destiny. Choose strength, choose silence, choose control. That's how you win.